Hey guys, Jason Cadwell, owner and broker with Cadwell Realty Group again. Thanks for tuning in with us. So today what I want to do is part number 2 of the previous video that I did regarding why I don't believe there will be a recession in this decade, meaning the next couple years at least. There's a lot of talk in the news right now, people thinking that there's a housing bubble and everything else going on out there, and just wanted to, like I said, give my opinions on what's going on. In case you didn't see the last video, a couple of things we talked about, why I wanted to continue this is there's a lot of factors that goes into a recession or market in general, if you will, and some really key points to really tune in on and keep an eye on. And one of those is, the first 3 things we talked about were loans, the type of loans that people are getting for their home loans, and equity loans and everything else, actually, for that matter. So there's just a much better foundation of the qualification that it takes to get a loan, and versus what was done, back in the early 2000s. So that's a great deal. Unemployment, as we all know, if you've paid attention to the news, if you've looked online, you'll see help wanted signs everywhere. There's tons of jobs, so unemployment rate's pretty low, and actually wages have been increasing recently too, so which is great. And lastly, what we talked about before was about the amount of money it takes to rent an apartment, a house, right now, versus what it was 10 years ago is completely flipped upside down. And so it makes it very expensive to rent something, which has put its own crunch in housing in general, but is also a good sustainability and foundation again for the housing purchase and selling market, in my opinion. So anyways, go back to that video, check that out if you want to get a little bit more in-depth stuff on what I was talking about. But today I want to just throw in three more things of why I believe we're still going to be okay. First, we're going to talk about interest rates. Interest rates are really good at this point. If you do go on the Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac websites and check out the historical data on where interest rates are, they've been as low in the last 5 years. They've been as low as 3.6, something like that, and really where we're at now is still a great rate at like 4.5%. I was doing the 5-year look back, and 5 years ago, September of 2013, we were at 4.52% on interest rates, and today we dropped a little bit there during 2015 to 16, and but are back up to 4.5 again, and but that's a phenomenal interest rate. And so that's why you're seeing some things in the news about the Fed's going to continue to raise rates a little bit, because there really hasn't been any inflation done inside the rate and bond markets. So you are going to see some of that. What a lot of analysts feel is the pricing that you see on the short-term interest rates that the Fed raises has already been priced in. So we think that's the case, so you're going to see very little movement in that. But at the end of the day, 4.5% is a phenomenal rate. I remember back in 99, 2000 when we bought our first house, and interest rates were upwards of almost 8%. And then in later 2000, they creeped up to, I think, 8.5%. So again, interest rates are phenomenal. So I think that's really good. Second is what you're hearing a lot about is low inventory. And what that means is you got to remember during that recessionary time, that call it the 5-6 year period there, virtually building and new construction didn't happen. There just wasn't much going on. Developers weren't developing lots for home builders to build on. And we were just in that recessionary time where nobody had any confidence to go do anything. And so there's always needs to be, for the household formation and things that happen in our world, we're a growing population, we have to add housing units to our inventory, and we just purely didn't have it. And so that's created this overall nationwide shortage in parts of the country, even like Oregon, where it's harder to, due to our urban growth boundary, which, by the way, I think is a good thing, but we just have to have some additional happy mediums in there. But it's really hard for developers to create more lots and create subdivisions in Oregon on a massive scale, unlike Washington, Texas, California. All these other areas have the abilities for developers to go in and do hundreds and hundreds of lots in one location fairly easily. Additionally, in Oregon, especially in the Willamette Valley, we have wetland issues that slow down that development and make it much harder for guys to get through regulation. And that's a whole nother topic we'll talk about later. We're going to be doing some videos and things on development, new construction, and everything else. So just to help educate people out there about what's going on and some troubling, again, regulations that make it fairly difficult. So, but at the end of the day, that creates, we've had a low inventory, and therefore we are not overbuilt. And right now I'm going to talk specifically about Oregon. We are not overbuilt. We're actually underbuilt. We're not providing enough units to sustain the demand that's out there. So, fortunately, I'm around new construction a lot, and we got a lot of guys trying to do some things and I think add units to the market, which I think will be good overall for people, and that should help a little bit with some of that supply and give people more options. Additionally, with that supply, lack of supply, less people tend to be selling their houses or are actually staying in their houses longer. Remodelers right now are super busy. A lot of people are staying in their houses and just remodeling. So it's a good problem to have. It gives some good foundation to the market. We hope that still some things free up a little bit, just giving people more options. But what I want to clarify is, just because you hear low inventory and no homes or whatever, the media does a lot of talking, and you have to really get educated about that. So talking to your real estate professional, hopefully it's one of either myself or one of my agents here at Cadwell Realty Group, but do talk to them and make sure that you're getting educated on what the real deal is. And the same thing, back up for a second on interest rates. Had a conversation with somebody the other day and said, yeah, interest rates are really, we heard they went way up. And so we kind of decided we're not going to, try to buy a home or in this case it was sell their house and then go buy something else. And it simply wasn't the case. Once I showed them the real data of where we're at, they just had some false information. So again, educate yourself and make sure you have all the correct information. Lastly, one thing I think it's pretty interesting is, and again, I'm talking specifically to the Willamette Valley, to our multiple listing service. And pretty much that consists of, I'm going to call it Woodburn to Eugene, and then, all the entire Willamette Valley over to the coast. So it doesn't include coast data, it doesn't include Eugene data or Portland data. So it's everything in between in this valley area. We're going to talk about foreclosure rates. So I just went with sold foreclosures in the last 3 years, and that has been declining big time, almost by 50% a year. I guess it's not, I would say 40% a year. So in 2016, for example, 816 foreclosures were sold in the MLS system. And that consists of foreclosures are bank-owned properties or people doing the short sales. Short sales are really kind of long ago, but that is included in the search. So it was 816 in 2016. In 2017, there was 514. And so that's, that was almost a 50%, almost cut it in half, which is fantastic. To date, today's it's end of August 2018, and we are at 203. So I bet you by the time we're done, this next quarter, maybe we'll have another, based upon this number, 75 to 80. So maybe we end up at 300. Still a fantastic reduction in what's going on in the foreclosure market. My feeling is that a lot of this inventory that's coming through is actually not current, previous foreclosures that have happened in the last couple of years. I do believe that a lot of this is still some old inventory that's been around for years. Doesn't mean all of it is, but at the end of the day, it tells us something that less and less people are having troubles and are figuring out how to stay in their homes, like I talked about in the last video, because of what rent prices are. So a lot more people really figuring this out. So anyways, that's kind of what I got. Those really 6 items: loans, jobs, great unemployment, the high rents, low vacancy, the interest rates, sorry, the low inventory of our homes right now, and finally foreclosure rates. So I think all those are important to keep in mind. And again, why I don't believe that despite what some news media say, that we're in a housing bubble or that we're looking for a recession anytime soon, and especially over the next couple of years in this decade. So anyways, there we go. That's my take for today. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Be sure, and if you're not signed up on our newsletter, to check some things out here on the page, and let us know how myself or anyone else at Cadwell Realty Group can help you. And we look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks again.